It's clear that both the White House and all of us want to get something done on infrastructure in a big and bold way. We agreed on a number, which was very, very good, $2 trillion for infrastructure. Originally, we had started a little lower. Even the president was eager to push it up to $2 trillion.
That was Minority Leader and New York Senator Chuck Schumer recently announcing that President Trump has agreed to work with Democrats in a bipartisan infrastructure plan. The president has long pointed to infrastructure as a potential area of common ground with the Democrats, and a big federal investment could be a boon to the New York metro area, which has struggled to bring its infrastructure into the 21st century. But at $2 trillion, finding the money to pay for such a massive package could be a challenge. So the question now is, will this ambitious new infrastructure proposal prove to be the real deal, or will it turn out to be yet another legislative dead end? Joining us now with answers is former HUD Secretary Henry Cisneros, who earlier this year launched a new investment firm created specifically to invest in infrastructure projects around the country, including in New York. Mr. Cisneros, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you for your excellent work over the years of informing this metropolitan area.
Thank you, sir. Now, you know, it's often said that America has a crumbling infrastructure.
Yeah.
Is that accurate? Just how bad is it?
Well, it's bad enough that the American Council on Civil Engineering gives our infrastructure a grade of D. And they estimate a $2 trillion gap or shortfall in the amount of money that it'll take to just get our infrastructure up to an acceptable level. So we're behind badly all across the country. We have ports that aren't deep enough for the biggest ships now. We have rail that is just not at all on the same level as what we see in Europe or in China or in Japan, with rail beds that are obsolete and you can't run fast trains on them. We've got airports that, again, are not on a par with what is happening among our economic competitors. Water systems that have problems like Flint, and in many cities, water pipes are 100 years old. A broadband that is not as fast as what we find in other countries in the world, and a power grid that is still based largely on fossil fuels at a time when renewables really need to be put in place, and the grid is not responsive, the power grid. So almost any area you look in traditional infrastructure, we're behind. Look at the quality of some of our public schools, for example, government buildings. We've got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, clearly. So the president and the Democratic leadership finally got together to talk about this. And as we've heard, they came up with a price tag, $2 trillion.
Yep. Well, that's the $2 trillion I mentioned. That is the gap.
Yeah. Well, but unfortunately, they did not decide where that money would come from.
And you're right in your opening comments when you say it's going to be a difficult challenge. It is. There are ideas out there, things like, for example, increasing the gas tax, but Democrats tend to be against that. And then Republicans would be against any dealing with the tax cuts that they recently enacted. There's been some suggestions of a few cents that could be added onto highest incomes, for example, to generate funds. So there's ideas out there where the money can come from, but probably hard to get to $2 trillion, even over a 10-year span. But we need to be thinking creatively about where it's going to come from.
Well, speaking about that, as I said in the introduction, you have recently started your firm, an investment firm, specifically to invest in infrastructure projects.
Well, and the rationale is because it's clear there's not going to be enough public debt or public capital to invest in infrastructure. So one of the ways to generate money for this is to bring private capital to infrastructure. And there's a lot of things that you can bring private capital. You bring it as debt or to be paid back, or as equity investment where private companies actually own a piece of a toll road or a bridge or an airport terminal or something else. I think that's the coming thing. We see it now in England, we see it in Spain, big time in Australia and the other Asian nations, bringing private capital. We don't have the regime set up, the rules set up yet in this country to do it on a large scale, but increasingly we're seeing airports that can be privatized, water systems that can be improved, and then the rates dedicated to pay back that. So the whole concept of private capital is growing, and there are investors who like the reliable, long-lived or long-dated aspect of infrastructure.
But you're a Democrat, and it's usually the Democrats who are a little suspicious of private investment.
And have a right to be suspicious, and the public has a right to be suspicious. We're a centrist conservative country, but very suspicious of private interests getting into things that have been public services or monopolies. Completely understandable. But we've got to come up with the capital, or we're just going to get deeper and deeper in trouble with respect to the obsolescence of things like water systems. Now we're talking human health, as we saw in Flint, Michigan, for example. So it's critical to upgrade the infrastructure. And here's the other piece of it. It's not just doing more of the same, adding more roadways or another power station. The technology makes it possible to be at a point of inflection where new technologies are applied to the next generation of infrastructure, and it will actually be different. So we need to modernize. For example, putting sensors into roadways to manage congestion, for example, or building more solar and wind power, even nuclear power, to augment the fossil fuel industry as it exists today. And many others, street lights, LED lights that brighten cities and light them in different ways. All kinds of big data applications that allow us to manage crime.
You talk about these things, I realize how far we are from all that.
We're far off. We're far off.
Well, let's talk about New York, you know, from the subways.
And New York's maybe far off than any other place.
That's it. That's my point.
It probably is not the poorest infrastructure in the country because places like Detroit and Youngstown and some of the industrial heartland are in worse shape.
But this is
New York
supposed to be the world's financial and cultural center of the world. How did we get to this
New York at least has the economic juice to do some of it. But when you're talking about a city that is thought of as the capital of the world in terms of finance and culture and media, et cetera, there's a lot that needs to be done here. Airports, people fly out of airports in other parts of the world, land at the New York airports and say, well, which end of this was the third world airport, right? So you have that problem. The tunnels that are not adequate and railways coming into the city that are just not adequate for we know the subway problems. But then beyond that, I mean, if you've been on the London to Paris train or Shanghai to Beijing, moving at 200 miles an hour, moving smoothly, and then you try to go from Washington to New York, and it's just no comparison.
I was recently in Chengdu, China, which is not even the top 3 cities of China, and the subway system is unbelievable. I mean,
China is urbanizing rapidly. They have 1 million cities. 100 cities over 1 million people in China, and they're going toward 200 cities of 1 million people. I take the train from Washington to New York regularly, and I don't even bother to take something that I have to write on, because there's no way to write with the shaking of the train.
Is your firm working on any projects or plan to work on any projects here in New York?
Yes, we will be involved in projects hopefully related to the airport and transportation systems, smart city initiatives. Our footprint is national, so we'll be working all over the country, but our headquarters is here, and we need to be involved in New York. I think New York is going to set the pace for whether or not it's realistic to bring private capital. There's so much creativity here, so much ability to do intricate and fair, responsible financial architecture in the infrastructure space. It may well be the city that leads the way.
Let's hope so. Let's hope so. Since we have you here, Secretary Cisneros, I have to ask you. Look, you were HUD Secretary during the Clinton administration. That was a period of political divisions, political tribalism. I remember that period, and it was bad. But it wasn't as bad as what we're living through now, you know, which is some people have called a nonviolent civil war. Why have we gotten to where we are, and what do you think we can do about it?
Well, you're right. It's a very bad time, and we've lived through some bad times. The impeachment of President Clinton was very contentious. The obvious resignation of President Nixon before that. And we've had other times during the Depression, for example, and of course we fought a civil war.
A real civil war.
A real civil war. Lost a lot of lives. But this is a very difficult period. I think we're going through a transition where there are people who are fearful of the change that's occurring in the country. And so we have some holding out for a different vision of America and then the demographic realities that we confront. We're also going through some very difficult economic changes. People are very fearful of their economic situation personally, their family budget, their inability to get health care, et cetera. Hopefully, we can work our way through this. It will take some real understanding of bipartisanship again, and this infrastructure opportunity really offers a case example of where bipartisanship can reassert itself, because both sides want infrastructure for their needs. Republicans want it because they know it has to do with American competitiveness and productivity. Democrats want it because they know it has to do with jobs and wages. So you put all that together, and that's an example of where bipartisanship could come back to play. I was pleased to see, in the midst of this moment that we've said is very tough, and people are talking about impeachment, et cetera, the president could still sit down with the Senate Democrats and with the House Democrats, Nancy Pelosi, and talk about something both sides realize the country needs. Yeah. In that sense, it's more than just bricks and mortar. Yeah. It might really be a pathway to having a civil conversation about the future of the country.
Well, Secretary Cisneros, now that we know that you spent a lot of time in New York, we're going to have you back.
I'm glad to be back. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.